Hi, my name's Chris Bond. I'm the R&D Director of Hardy Grays Limited, and I'd like to take you on a factory tour. Let's go and see rod assembly. Making a fishing rod is quite a complex process. Let's start with how we make the blank. We basically take a mandrel, which is a solid piece of bar with the right taper on it. We then use various materials depending on what we want and how we want it, what the properties we need from the rod blank, and we wrap it around this mandrel to give us a blank. This is a blank that has been made and ovened and is now in its state ready to be painted. This is it post-paint, ready to be made into a rod. The same process today that makes our fishing rods also makes parts such as that, things for the military, and even bigger. As you can see, we use a myriad of mandrels. These are the more modern rod mandrels. Here are some of the older, larger rod mandrels. And let me take you around the corner and show you something else. You won't be able to feel this, but it's very hot here. And the reason it's hot here is because we have the ovens where we cook the mandrels and some of our larger marine mandrels. Once that blank's been cooked in the oven for some 2 hours, it comes out, it's stripped and it's painted. Once it's painted, it comes through into the rod shop to be made into a finished rod. To make a finished rod, we line it up and we start by putting a handle on it. The handle is made from cork shrives, which come from Portugal, from a properly managed and farmed source. We squeeze them on like that, then we profile mill it so that we get the proper handle shape that becomes known as a hardy rod. When it's had its handle put on, it then goes and gets its rings tied on in the tying shop. Let's go and have a look at that. So after the rod has spent several days in the rod shop, it comes through into the tying shop. I've got a cane blank here to show you, but basically what we take is we take the relevant rings and we put them onto the rod blank using a silk thread. These old sticks show you where the rods and the rings should be tied. It's the same process for a cane rod as it is for a carbon rod, and it's tied on. Once it's tied on, we then fill it with resin, which takes again about a day or 2 days because we have to do it twice, and we fill in the silk we've put on using an epoxy resin. This is where the tying is filled in. We have to add 2 coatings of epoxy, and it takes approximately a day per coat, so it takes 2 days to do this. We fill in initially, and then we come back a day later and top it off, because what we need is the resin to impregnate the tying to make sure that it is totally homogeneous, and then we put the top coat on to make it nice and clear to protect the ring and the tying. After the filling in process, the rod comes back into the tying section and into inspection, where it's finished and cleaned and checked, ready for dispatch. There is a difference, of course, between cane rods and carbon fly rods, and I'd like to show you that now. On a carbon rod, we have limited number of tyings. On a cane rod, we have more tyings, but on an old-fashioned cane rod, we have a significant amount of tyings. The reason for this is that the modern glue is epoxy, and the old glue was bone and animal-based, and as such, could degrade over time. In order to stop your rod falling apart, on an old cane rod, wherever there is a mark here, we would put an additional tying along its length. A very long and arduous process. And while we're talking a process, I think it would be good for you to speak to a colleague of mine, Calum, who makes the cane rods for which Hardy have become famous.
This is the bamboo columns as we buy them in, come from Tonkin in China. This is what we start with when we're building a bamboo rod. The first stage is to select the culm. You want obviously dense pulls for depending on the line size of the rod that you're building. You want nice clean pulls for blonde rod, blemish free, free from any insect marks. So once we've selected the pulls, we'll cut them to length, and one of the first steps we'll do is actually splitting the pull into sections. This is part of the bamboo column, what I'm going to split down into sections. These sections create 6 of the sections that build up a bamboo rod. So I'm just going to demonstrate how we split these down in House of Hardy here. We basically subdivide the material starting from the full pole. We'll half the full pole, and then we subdivide all the material down from there. If you try to just split from the edge working round, you end up, it tends to run off to the skinnier side, so that's why we subdivide. So as you can see, so I've split that into half, and now I'm going to split each one of them into half again, subdivide them. This is, at this point, you've got to be really careful because it does want to run off to one side, so you can actually keep it on track by keeping pressure onto the side. If it's wanting to run off to my right, I can put pressure onto the left-hand side, and that will keep it on track. There's just a little twist at the node just to pop it through, and that's basically, that's 2 of the sections ready for node preparation, and that would be the next step to do after the splitting. This is the node preparation. I've got the section already trapped in the vise here. The idea is to remove the node, the leaf bud, but keeping intact as much of the section as you can. So we want to keep this down to a minimum. So we're just going to file that bud away just until we get it down to the. And then we're just going to use a scraper just to blend this away into the section. And that's pretty much well it. And you repeat this process on every node, except the nodes that is actually going to be cut off, so you wouldn't touch them nodes. Now this is the Hardy's bamboo mill. This is a machine. This is a section that's actually been filed. So the next stage would be to machine the taper, and this is one of the strips that's actually had the taper machined. So there'd be 6 of these that would make up a finished butter tip section, and from there it'll go to gluing, and that's the next step after machining. Just as a point of interest, this trolley here, it's been around a long time. This probably dates back to the original Hardy factory, Barngate Without, so it's pretty old. As you can see, it's full of sections that have already been through the mill, and these are currently waiting to be glued up. As you can see, we've got lots of different sizes here all ready to be glued up as for the next stage. As you can see, I've got some examples of a finished section here. These has been through the gluing process, and they've had the strings removed. This probably represents about a week's worth of work. So from now on, these can be sent down the line and finished off into a completed cane rod. As you can see here, we've got a finished example of a bamboo rod. It's already had the guides whipped on, as Chris spoke about earlier. The hand inscription's been put on. Tiger maple reel seat and hardware has been mounted. You'll probably be surprised to know that we're only making approximately 6 of these bamboo rods a month, but they are a work of art.